And again, I just want to show you the power of the 5-day moving average, why it's so important. This is why a name like a Zoom or a name like an Amazon, although it's not on my quote-unquote focal point for tomorrow, I'm still watching them because look at Roku, right?
Welcome to Access a Trader, the #1 community for those who are committed to taking control of their trading in order to achieve success, profitability, and longevity. Thank you for joining us. Here's Dan Shapiro to help you find your edge, master your process, and own your future.
And just like that, we're at all-time highs. Guys, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the AccessATrader.com nightly wrap-up show. Hope everybody had a really good day of trading. Hope everybody had a great weekend. So let's talk about the markets. If you watch the weekend update, excuse me, we talked about sometimes, you don't have to overcomplicate your things. A lot of times when you see, especially a focal point of your trading, which is the groups that you trade. For example, for me, I trade technology. I trade the high beta mega cap names. So when something is, I don't want to use the word obvious. There's no such thing as obvious, because if it was obvious, you should be going in both hands, all in, max up. So there's nothing obvious. But when you have a really good feeling based on research from the night before, and if you guys remember on the weekend video, just from last night's video, I basically said it took me 5 to 7 minutes to literally do my research, because sometimes when you see indexes rise and they reclaim levels, for example, on Friday, we took out 3 days worth of selling and reclaimed the 5 and 10 day moving average. That's very, very bullish. So I noted on the video, unless something materialistically really bad news comes out, I thought we should have higher prices, and we got to research. And when you have, when you have the names that you trade over and over again, and they're the focal point on your list, and you honestly don't need to even look at charts that day, because the Teslas are setting up, and the Facebooks are setting up, and the Amazons, and the Googles, and the everything that you trade is right in front of you. There's little reason to kind of go out of your safe space and your happy zone to kind of find other things. And the market played out that way really, really well. And we'll get to individual pivots in a second. But technology was very strong today. I mean, they were very strong on Thursday, spilling over to Friday. But once we had, kind of a gap open today, and you saw names like, even Amazon that was, been very, very weak over the last, couple of weeks since after earnings, even that caught a bid. Even a name like a Zoom, right? Like a name like a Zoom, it just basically stopped going down, and now is putting in 3 days in a row of higher lows. Things like that, like these little clues you start to pick up, because you start saying to yourself, if the strong stocks continue to be strong, and the names like the Apples of the world and the Nvidias of the world and Netflix of the world, and once you start seeing the weaker names start catching a bid, right? Like the Zooms of the world, like the Amazons of the world. I know it's crazy to even say Amazon is weak, but again, the scoreboard is a scoreboard. That's when you know the market is in full control of the bulls. And again, like I say sometimes, you don't need to overcomplicate things and start looking at 12 different indicators and 30,000 different opinions. It's right in front of you, right? The weak stocks got strong, the strong stocks got stronger. And the cool part, what we're seeing right now, is when stocks are coming off the bottom, those are the strongest moves. And we talk about this all the time. The most highest probability moves are obviously stocks when they reclaim the 50, right? 50-day moving average is a really good aggressive area. But a short-term view is when they start getting comfortable and start reclaiming the 5-day moving average, which is the shortest term sentiment, and the 10-day moving average, which is the birth of the trade. All this is kind of a recipe for a big green light in the market. The market played out this way. Even a name like Tesla that I didn't have a bias going into today's session just because it was kind of in the middle of the range, that quickly was gone, right? They quickly confirmed the top of the range and off and on. And now we're looking like we got one more day, maybe 2 more days of Tesla, kind of testing back that 730 level. So it's really not, again, you really don't have to complicate things. The way I talked about it over the weekend, you don't really need to look at a lot of charts. Same thing tonight, right? You really don't it basically, took me very little time to do a good actionable watch list for tomorrow, just because number one, I eliminated anything overextended. So I took Netflix off, I took NVIDIA off, right? I took those names off watch. There's no reason for watching them anymore. They had their big moves, they had their big pivots, and now I'm watching names, maybe like an Amazon, right? Maybe gets a day 2 run off the bottom channel. You can see here, right? It stopped right at the same area, rejected twice. A name like a Zoom that might not be obvious, right? That might not be painfully obvious to a lot of players. But again, it's sitting here rejected off the 5-day moving average. Now, what happens if Zoom reclaims the 5-day moving average? It could explode. And again, I just want to show you the power of the 5-day moving average, why it's so important. This is why a name like a Zoom or a name like an Amazon, although it's not on my quote-unquote focal point for tomorrow, I'm still watching them, because look at Roku, right? Look at Roku. You see that 5-day moving average? It reclaimed the 5-day and went right to the 10. So these are areas that are very, very sneaky areas. They're not exposed to the vast majority of the people out there, right? Most people are looking at 52-week highs, 52-week lows. I like those little wedges. I like those sneaky channels that nobody's really paying a close attention to. They're kind of seeing it after the fact. And that's kind of what I like. So names like Amazon, names like Zoom, they intrigue me, right? A name like AMD is coming off the bottom channel here, right? As you can see here, it reclaimed again the 5-10-day moving average. Again, this is the same theme over and over again. If it could reclaim this channel, maybe this thing wakes up. So there's a lot of names that I'm definitely watching for tomorrow. There's names that I believe that could, if they break their channels, could be explosive. Like look at Moderna. If everything was going on here, you guys remember we were talking about the bottom to the channel to the bottom and channel to the top? Well, here's the 10-day moving average, right? It reclaimed the 5 today. If it could reclaim the 10-day moving average tomorrow, I mean, you guys know how Moderna trades. If this thing catches a bid, man, look how much room you have. 464 is the upper Bollinger Band. Again, who the hell knows if it even if it's going to have an update tomorrow. But the point is, if it does reclaim and confirm this 10-day moving average, again, if you believe in the theory, stocks go from supply to supply. Well, 464 is a hell of a supply and a hell of a measure of potential. So that's it. We don't need to complicate things today, right? We don't need to look at every single sector. SPY's all-time highs, Q's all-time highs. The diamonds, not there yet, but the one group that still continues to lag a little bit. But who knows? If this group finally wakes up and the Russell, and they start confirming the 50-day moving average, then you're talking about a full-blown market rally into the fourth quarter. So that's it. Don't overcomplicate. Keep it simple, stupid, right? KISS. Keep it simple, stupid for tomorrow. Whatever looks strong that's coming out of a range, that's where the money flow is. Again, look at a couple names, other names. Look at RBLX, right? RBLX got rejected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. 6 times off that 85 level. Right before I left, there was a massive battle at 85. They were trying to clear up a seller. This is the highest close in the whole formation. Why can't this thing wake up? You started seeing September 95 calls. Why can't this thing wake up and start challenging the top of the range here? So do the work, right? Do the look. Like look at Snapchat, right? Look at another one. Look at Snapchat. Snap had a really good move. The only reason it stopped right into the linear regression line. If it remounts the linear regression line tomorrow, you have a lot of move up as well. So big potential again for tomorrow. Hopefully we get a little bit profit taken in the morning, maybe trap some shorts on the rising 60-minute support. And a lot of these names that we're watching for tomorrow can maybe go red to green and start confirming today's channel. So let's talk about it. Very aggressive, right? Roku, I didn't get a piece of this trade because when it opened up, number one, I really love this setup at 352. It gapped up to put in a high at 357 pre-market. So I didn't have a chance to trade this thing. Number one, it went from literally from 357 to 361. It felt like it went up there on 12 shares. It really was no liquidity on the name. But if it can go sideways for a couple of days, there actually might be a trade on this thing towards the later of the week. RBLX is what we talked about, rejected 4 times daily. First close over 85, right? This is a very big deal. If it could confirm today's channel, this thing could run. NVIDIA, we were trading this thing for the last couple of weeks. This has been an absolute monster of a trader ever since it split. This was Friday's pivot, 200 needs to build. And then this morning, 212 for experienced traders only, needs to build for another spike Look in the video, just a beast, just an absolute rock star, right? It took out the 212, traded all the way to 220. Again, this is a little too extended now for my personal taste. Can it go higher tomorrow? Of course it can. I think the market continues to go stronger. But again, 3-day move from 187 to 220, a little bit too extreme for me. Facebook, 360.50, 361 needs to build. Here is Facebook, took out the 361, traded all the way up to 365, almost 366. I like this whole channel here on the macro side for the next couple of days, but a really, really strong move on Facebook. Team, we talked about this on the weekend update. 350 needs to build to confirm earnings highs. Here was Team. Right, here was Team. It took out the 350, pretty much closed at the highs of the day, almost trading to 354. This thing looks higher as well. Nothing really special there. They're just a pretty basic earnings breakout. TTD needs a strong base to reclaim, again, the theme, 5-day moving average. Here is TTD. Reclaim the 5-day moving average, right, and went right to the 10, right, went right to 80. Listen, if this thing starts building that 80, 81 area, this thing has more room to run, but nice move there on TTD. AMD is 107 supply, needs a strong build to break the downtrend. Guess what? Strong build, broke the downtrend. 107, it took out supply, went as high as to 109. If this thing starts building 109, this thing is going to test that 112 level. A lot of potential, especially names that are moving up. Not a big move on Peloton. 106 is the daily Bollinger support. If it builds below, can flush a little more. They got downgraded today, I believe, by Oppenheimer. Not a big move at all. It took out the 106, traded down to like 105 and change, but nothing big there. Again, there was so much juice to the upside. There's really no reason to be emphasizing on the downside right now. Google just absolutely exploded. It was a little bit too thin for me. I took a very modest gain in this thing, and this thing went absolutely nuts. 2768 needs to build. Here was Google. Very, very tough trade just because it's just so thin, but it took out the 2270 and went all the way to 2817. Just a monster move. I know a lot of you guys are holding a runner in there. Great job there. This one was kind of disappointing. This is the only one that didn't reclaim the $200 area, which is very, very odd considering how strong the chart was and how strong that move was into the close on Friday. Very, very odd there, but whatever, it is what it is. So NVIDIA takes sales on the way up. Facebook takes sales on the way up. Again, guys, you always want to put yourself in a position that you're always taking sales. You don't work for free. There's no guarantee it's going to automatically go to the next supply zone. So do what you got to do. Take money along the way up. And once you get that good cash flow, use break even as you stop. So that's that. Tesla was the monster. It's always the monster. My favorite stock. 696 is huge supply and needs to reclaim. And again, here's the reason. If you guys remember on the weekend update, I said I really didn't have a feel because everything was sitting in the middle of its range, right? So 96 was the high into supply of last week, the 5-day moving average. Again, 5-day, 10-day, right? That's the common denominator. It took out the 96, just exploded out of its channel, went to 712. All this thing needs to do, right? All Tesla needs to do is confirm the 10-day moving average from the highs from August the 16th, and we should get a move, at least a test, back to that 730 area. So Tesla's just, what are you going to say? I mean, what else are you going to say? First supply, 2779, it went to 2820. Facebook, 363 pushing. It was pushing 366. 709 next stop. Went to 712. Google, 2800. I mean, just an absolute moonshot by technology today, and that's the market we want, right? That's the market we want. Again, this is the next measure potential, 367 on Facebook. Again, 80 on deck on TTD, 354 on deck on Team. Just a lot of big monster moves this morning. And again, like I said, excellent moves this morning. The market is setting up for another premium session today, and that's the bottom line. I mean, for tomorrow, and that's the bottom line. We are set up, right? The key is. And we always ask the same questions. Are we going to get that follow through, right? Another follow through. Again, it's so easy to prepare for the next day. You get your ducks in order, you get your research ready, everything looks great, and the market rests. And there's nothing you can do about it, but that is building your discipline. That is building your ability to kind of remove emotions and not trade because the market's open. Remember that whole spiel from last week? And today we're obviously seeing the fruits of our labor and the results of us being patient last week. Guys, have a great night. I will see you tomorrow. Good start to the week. And that's it. God bless. See you tomorrow, guys.